On Conversations with Channelers, we answer questions that many of our viewers are curious about and share a platform that helps humans connect to spirit. Each channeler has their own unique way to bring through information. I am your host, Heidi Freilich. Welcome to our program. Hello, everyone. Hi, Robin.
Hi there, Heidi.
Hi, we're happy today to have Teresa Greco. I believe that's how you pronounce your name. Yes, okay. She's a channeler that we are excited to have on our show. Teresa, would you like to get started by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with this?
Sure. So I do a lot of different things. I'm a certified life coach that specializes in happiness and spirituality. I am the host of a weekly internet TV show called The Steps to Happiness Show with Teresa Greco. I'm the host of a radio show called The Happy Hour with Teresa Greco. I'm an educator and educational technologies consultant. I'm the editor at a Canadian luxury men's magazine, as well as their senior writer. I also write for different international publications as well. I am a Reiki master, a channeler, mother. I'm also a student. I'm pursuing my PhD in happiness as well at this time. So yeah, lots going on, lots of fun things.
Yeah, you sound like a very busy person. So when did the channeling start for you?
So it started 2 years ago. I've been on my happiness journey for over 10 years. But the channeling came, yes, about 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years this summer.
Okay. And what was what was going on before it initially came out? Like, were you unsure of what was going on? How did it all come together?
So basically, with me being on my happiness journey, there's been, and my brand is the Steps to Happiness brand. So there's been various steps that I've taken, so different principles and practices that have come across my path as I'm learning, growing, and expanding. And so that is a lot of like what I now coach, teach, speak about, write about, is these various principles and practices. And so I feel like the universe has very gently brought me along and provided the right, let's say, modality or tool or practitioner or book or podcast, various things that is like, oh, look at this, Teresa. And I'm like, oh, what's that about? And it's like, oh, look at this. And I'm like, oh, what's that? That I've been very open to just, when the universe is bringing it to me, to look into it and to see that it's usually, and I know now that it's always there for my best interest, that nothing is by accident. There are no coincidences, that it is always the universe just bringing me along my path to self-discovery. And so basically at that time, so I've been a Reiki master since 2016. So while I was doing Reiki, people would ask, why is this happening? And I would ask, and then I would receive phrases at that time. So it was just like 2 or 3 words, sometimes just a word, or I'd receive a vision too of something, like let's say a necklace would pop in or a scarf or something like that. And I'm like, this is, check out this, or whatever was coming through. So it was already coming through, but just not as full conversations like what I have. And so basically then at 2 years, the universe was like bringing in channeling, which I didn't know what it was. I was familiar with mediumship, but channeling I had no clue about. And then it was like there were different channelers that were coming across like my phone, my internet feed. I was like, what's this? And so I'm checking it out, and it was like the Palladians and the Arcturians, and I'm like, what's this? And so I was like, I didn't know. And then of course, then I was introduced to a guest that you've had on the show, to Peter Dennis. He's a channeling facilitator. And so I was like, oh, what's this about? And so I reached out to him, and then he told me a little bit about what he does. And he says, Teresa, would you like to join one of our events? And so where he had a channeler at one of his events, and I and so there was various signs that were all coming through. And so at that event, I asked if this was something that my higher self wanted to do. And I was told it was. And
Uh-huh.
so that I could make a choice whether, well, we all have free will, so we can make a choice whether it's something that we want to do. And so at first I was concerned. I was worried about if there was like some dark energies or, you know, some things that I didn't want to be involved with, some things that are not of the light that could potentially come in. Like even growing up, there were things like the Ouija board and all. I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with any of that. So there was some concerns around that. And there are ways though to be able to not be open to those things. And so then I ended up working with Peter so that I would be able to only open myself up to those that are of light. And so with him, that's kind of how it all started. And so it's been, and then I had heard that it was going to be like amazing and I didn't have anything to fear. And it's been a process. Definitely it's been a process, but it is amazing that when you can get to that place of communication that I have always wanted, like from a very small girl, I've always wanted to hear from God my whole life. And that's how my whole happiness journey started, that I had a stack of books on my desk. So I said, I have questions. I have things that I am asking and I need help with, and people are hearing from God. People are seeing, like, why can't I do this? And basically it was my religion. I grew up Catholic, had kept God outside of me, had kept, that was the big one. But Jesus too, that I was told they were at church. Unless I went to church, I wasn't able to communicate with them. It wasn't the same if I did it at home. And so I was told to meditate. This was again over 10 years ago. I didn't know what that meant. I knew how to pray, but I didn't know what meditation was. And so I ended up going to a meditation center close by my home where they helped me to get started. And it was like spirit was trying to speak to me my entire life. And I just didn't know how to listen. And so now I share that meditation and prayer are very different. That's basically how all of that, it all started through meditation, and then it evolved from Reiki, and then basically into.
Sure. So would you say that the meditation was what enabled you to get yourself in the space that then you could finally hear who was trying to contact you? Yeah.
I've been meditating for years at that point.
Okay.
And then the Reiki, then the Reiki heightened it because of the different attunements that you get as you do that. And so that opened me up a little bit more. And then it was time for the universe, like, okay, now it's time for this. And I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what in your experience has been the best part of the channeling? I know that sounds like you've been on this journey for a while, but having that added in now, what is the best thing that you have noticed or observed from having that be part of your experience?
Is that it has provided me understanding of things that have happened to me in my life that only my soul knew about. So even some of the trauma that I lived through, on a soul level, why those experiences happened, and that my soul revealed to me, for example, like some of the physical abuse that I went through, that I was like, why me? Why me? And it was on a soul level that I chose to take the abuse so that my younger siblings or those around me wouldn't have it, so that I took it for them. I took it for the team in essence. And I didn't like, why me? But it was always like, well, why me? And it was like, well, you're the oldest, you should know. And it was like, well, what, like, I didn't do it, but it didn't matter. It always seemed to be me. And even it was a
Right.
group of kids, like we're all maybe, let's say, having fun and in their eyes misbehaving. It didn't matter. It was always me. And it was like, and so I was like, that was, I mean, this has been a lot of like work and healing, but this information, is like, okay, on a intellectual or human level, it's hard to understand why our soul might choose to go through various experiences and how our souls are interacting with each other. And the same thing with what happened with the religion is I said, why did I have to choose to awaken at like 40 when I had been trying to hear from you my entire life, like connected to God my entire life? Why did I have to awaken at that time? For me, it was the milestone of turning 40 that it started before. And I said, well, I'm getting close to 40 and, you know, let me think about how I'm living and all of this. And, it was in the asking of those questions that also opened me up to like to receive the various answers. But I was then told again on a soul level that I wanted to live the human experience up to that time so that I would then be able to guide people that are now at that point to like where I am now. And had I not been able to understand that, I wouldn't be able to do the work that I'm doing now, that I can very much connect to what it's like to just be on the human plane, just believing you're just human. Whereas now I live my life as a spirit first in a human body, having a human experience. So it's very different. And so I can appreciate where everybody else is at, let's say, and then those that are just opening up to this part of themselves and then, you know, taking them, you know, on this path. So it was all on a soul level. And I was like, oh, okay, but I didn't understand that. And then just some of the, let's say, complexities around the souls that are closest to me, like my spouse, my children, my siblings, that again, on a soul level, that we're all working together to help all of us learn the lessons we came here. That, you know, I'm helping my spouse, but even in his treatment towards me, that he's getting me to learn different things. And so there's been a lot of knowledge that it's come out on that level that has really changed how I see just my life.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too, because for Robin, it also happened later in life, even later than for you. And I think that maybe she can weigh in here. I think that's been one of the things that makes this work so well for her is all of the years of life experience and all of the ups and downs and trials that now she's got this wealth of information that she can use and apply it in this arena. Robin, what are your thoughts
I
on
mean, I
that?
very much thought, you know, look at me, I'm 63 years old now. So, and I was on a spiritual journey, I would say from my early 20s. I was always reading about it, always interested in all of it, channelers, mediumship, every book and practice I had been interested in. And then really what it really hit me hard is when my kids went away to college. That's kind of when I lost my purpose. That was really something that I enjoyed and loved doing. And when they moved on and we were getting about ready to sell our business that I worked in with my husband, that was just a really like griefful period for me when that happened. And I do very much think that it doesn't really matter about age. There's some time, I don't know if you call it a ripening of your soul or evolution of the soul or something. It doesn't have anything to do with years. It could be lifetimes, you know, it just happens to pop out when it pops out. And, you know, one of the things that I think is kind of interesting is I do have some young grandchildren. And in the beginning, I would channel quite a bit in front of them, in which I'm quite different. But now that they've gotten to be a little bit older, I've noticed that the group doesn't do it so much. And I've kind of questioned about that. And they very much want them to have their human experience without that influence. And so I've just noticed now that it's not happening anymore in the presence of them. It's like that could be something that would be maybe disruptive to them in their early school years, you know, with their friends, and, you know, what is going on in their life and their beliefs are it's a little hard to support all of that. And so I do very much think that that timing thing Of course, in India, they expose children to it right away, early on, but the whole culture and society is open to it and accepting of it. So it's not like an oddity or something that would be looked upon as strange or make somebody different. But I think in our culture, it could. If you have a kid coming into first grade that, believes in channeling and
Sure.
speaking with people that have passed and
Yes.
everything like that, and no one else is having that experience, it makes them stand out or not fit into the way that they are at that young age. So I very much agree that there is something to it as far as timing goes. Exactly what that is, I'm not sure of, but that's just been my experience that I've noticed recently. As they've gotten old enough to know what it is, if I was doing it, they have stopped doing it in their presence.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because we kind of live in a society where it's not really mainstream yet. And you don't want a little one to, be labeled as different or
Yeah,
strange if they're talking about this stuff publicly with people. So I get that. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
And I
do
think
a
that
lot of work with people with Kundalini energy because that's been a big part of my journey. I had a Kundalini
mhm,
awakening in my early 40s, and I've gone through the whole gamut of it from a veering off rising to having it come down the other way and having it finally meet the top. And I understand the full concept of it. And that's an energy that once it's fully activated and it reaches the crown, which I'm told that mine does now, that energy is also during exchanges leaking out or being offered, let's use that term.
mhm,
And so that's something too that you don't want to stimulate the energy centers of a young child that isn't really ready for perhaps what karmically is stored within those energy centers, because you're coming in fully loaded, whether you know it or not. You haven't even really begun your life and know what your challenges are going to be. And if that energy got accelerated in you, it actually accelerate experiences that are held within those centers. And it's one of the reasons why they tell people to be mindful, that they do the work on themselves, that they recognize areas where they have stored emotions or problematic areas in their life that they see reflected back over and over again. If they would release that Kundalini early on and not have gotten rid of, or I hate to say gotten rid of, but not have dealt with, let's use that
mhm.
phrase, it could accelerate those negative experiences for them, and then it would be a very pleasant rising. And this is what actually happens to a lot of people who activate their Kundalini without a lot of knowledge about it. They're just very much wanting a connection to their spirituality. They want to accelerate their path, but they don't realize there's a big responsibility that comes with that and has a great effect upon their life when they actually activate that energy.
Yeah. Yes. There's a lot to it for sure.
I was just
Teresa.
going to say that also in the religions, I think
Mhm,
that it's not something that's accepted either, the channeling or the mediumship,
mhm,
although it's mentioned in the Bible, but it's being interpreted in a different way,
mhm,
and it's where it's being seen as negative or dangerous, or but then yet they talk about the Holy Spirit speaking through people, but then
mhm,
yet somehow there's just a lot of fear around, I guess, what's coming through
mhm,
when we're channeling. But I mean, then they have people what they call speaking in tongues, and
mhm,
that seems to be okay, but then
mhm.
But nobody can hear what they're saying, I guess.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah,
Teresa,
it's not always accepted.
yeah. Do you have an area that's of more interest to you than another when it comes to channeling? Do you have a specialty? Like Robin is very connected with the Kundalini because of her Kundalini rising, and she's very interested in chakras and energy centers. Do you have an area that you're more interested in or that you specialize in?
I would say my area of specialization is definitely happiness,
Okay.
because of my happiness journey. That
Sure.
when it began, basically I had achieved all the things that family, culture, religion, society tell you need to have a happy life. So my life checked off all the boxes, very perfect on the outside. So fulfilling career, beautiful, healthy family, our own home, cars in the driveway, vacations a year, lots of wonderful things. So if my life looked perfect, how is it that I felt unhappy and unfulfilled
Mm.
with my life? Always
Mhm.
feeling as though something was missing, that there was a
Mhm.
void, that it didn't matter what I bought, what I achieved, what I earned, what I did, where I went, there was always this void. And that I know now that the void was my not, I would say even though I was always connected to God and through religion, I wasn't connected to my spiritual self.
Yeah.
And that as soon as I went inward and connected to that aspect, then that wholeness was able to really come together, right? That when we're just connected to our physical, mental, emotional, which is just like maybe the human experience, and not integrating that spiritual part that is the infinite, eternal part, the energy part, the part inside of that shell. When we're not fully connected to that, then I feel like we're always feel there's that void that we're looking outside. We're conditioned to look outside for it. And then once we turn inward and we become familiar with our inner being versus our outer being, then it just changes the life experience. And so because of this unhappiness bit, let's say, is what I've been focusing on. And spirit, so basically in 2016, I channeled a book, which I called The Steps to Happiness. And it was that summer, the universe was like, write the book, everywhere I went, write the book. I was like, I don't know what you want me to write on. And then my spiritual mentor says, you just like sit down and just allow it to like come through you. And then that's basically what happened. So it gave me steps that summer that we can take to help us to connect to the happiness that we are. So happiness is more than just a state of mind. It is more than just an emotion. It is a state of being. It is who we really are, that we are love, peace, and happiness. We are all of those things innately, that there is a part of us that is always happy and happy in abundance. And so spirit has helped me to understand what true inner happiness is. And it is part of my purpose here is to help people to understand what true happiness is, that happiness is something we're all looking for. If you drill down to like, why do you want the promotion? Why do you want the home? Why do you want the family? Why do you want that? At the end, we always just want to be happy. Well, did you know that you are happiness already? That there's a part of you that is always happy. And that if you're not feeling happy, then there could be blocks that are preventing you from maybe connecting to that place of happiness within you that you always are. So I have asked spirit then a lot of questions around that as I am diving deep into the history around happiness, so really how happiness has been defined throughout the ages, and then bringing it up to this point where we now acknowledge that happiness is an innate quality of our spiritual self, and then aligning our physical, mental, emotional self to that. So it's like, is your physical self in alignment with that happiness? Is your mental self? Is your emotional self? It's all of that together. And so that is my work, and that I'm on a mission to help the world become a happier place by helping people to understand what true happiness really is, that it's not found in our possessions, in our positions, our titles, degrees, relationships, and experiences, is not found in any of those things. We believe they are, but it's actually an innate quality of our essential self. Our original nature is happiness.
I think
how do we align with that?
yes, and I think that what you're saying there in calling happiness is almost what Athena calls mastery. When you are in that state where you can see the things that are negative and the positive things, and control your reaction to them, and not let the outside source govern how you feel, then you're likely to be able to maintain happiness more effectively. Would you say that's accurate, Robin?
Yes, I would say that. Well, my group's just going to come in for a second. They're better at answering than I am. Yeah. We want to say first and foremost, Teresa, you are a delight. Yeah, you are happiness just by looking at it. So you're in the right line of work. Let's say that. What we would really like to say a little bit is a human is really here to develop themselves in mastery, to be the creators that they are wanting to be, to express their divine part of them. It's a little bit exactly what you are saying, Teresa. A human will be happy when they are expressing in their divine or in their divinity, and they understand that they are divine, that they are not the human tool that they think they are. Yeah, that there is a much grander, greater, stronger, bigger portion of themselves that is wanting to work in union with the human. It's not working against the human, as a human sometimes feels victimized. That is not the case. They are not being victimized. Yeah. So we would agree with much of what has been said here today. The thing that we would like to add is that a human coming into this contrasting plane, such as they are, and coming to mastery. And what does that really mean? It means that they are able to apply their focus, their very vibrant, important, powerful focus, in spite of contrast, in spite of distractions, in spite of emotions and things that are going on around them. And what happens is they grow in their power because of it. And so when they are leave this plane and they are reabsorbed back into the oneness, or become part of what that God, or that one thing that you talk about, they actually take that with them, and they have expanded the universe and themselves in the power that they have to create. So we think this is something that is vitally important, that a human understands that what they are doing here is actually making them more powerful, making them a stronger creator, putting themselves in this contrast, and then being able to express themselves as divine in it, not as the experience, not becoming the negativity that they are experiencing, but actually having the ability to focus themselves above it or beyond it, to what the preference is born by that experience. And this is actually one of the most expansive things for the universe and for the human itself. You are creators, whether you are here on the earth or you are in another plane of existence, and there are other planes, yeah? And so all you're doing is expanding your consciousness, expanding your power, expanding the universe, and none of it is not worthy. None of it is not going to be of benefit to all that is and to yourself. And so we just wanted to make the point of what it is you're actually doing here. You're actually building energy. You're actually making yourself more powerful in the governing of your human, in becoming the master over it. That's something you're going to take with you as you leave this plane, you see.
Very good. All right. So I would like, if it would be okay with both of you, Athena had recently had a podcast out about money. And there's a few questions that came from that podcast that maybe wanted some more information or clarity. So I thought that would be a good question or topic to address to the Guardians of the Light and to Athena in Truth. So we can start out, Athena, we'll start out with you because it was your podcast that precipitated the question. So you talked in the money, this person wants to know money in, money out. Sometimes the balance doesn't compute. If you have enough money, it's easy for you to have good thoughts about it, but they want to know if there's any realistic ways to make a shift, practical ways or examples to shift from a lack mentality when you're not in a position that money is flowing in that very moment.
Yes, we have gave responses to this before, that perhaps rather than focusing on money, when you have some contrasting thoughts about it, maybe some beliefs or perceptions that are either come with you from the lineage or have been part of the experience that you are experiencing in, that sometimes to talk yourself into being abundant or having money when you don't have it, this is what the client, the person is asking. But what we sometimes say is, rather than asking for money, why not focus upon something that you could bring to yourself in form? It might cost money, but this, by altering your focus a little bit off of the almighty dollar and maybe onto something that would be very satisfying to you to obtain materially, might be a way of starting to prove to yourself the creator that you are. So if, say, perhaps there is an item or something that would be a real enhancement to your life, but it is out of what you can afford, let's use that term. And so now you focus on that item. Now you think about how wonderful it would be have that thing. You think of all the different uses that you would have for it, how you would feel as you are using it. And lo and behold, it'll be shortcoming in that vibratory tone. The universe will supply the item to you, and you will start to get the idea that, if I can do this with a material form type thing, I can actually do it with my money too. For some reason, humans really are tied into their belief systems in their perceptions of money. And it isn't just theirs. There's a lot of people out there involved in money. And so we always say that everything is a stream of consciousness. So the more people that you have diving into a stream of consciousness, the wider the bandwidth, or the bigger that stream of consciousness becomes. And therefore, depending on which side of the stream you are on, this would be your dominant way of thinking or being, you see. So our recommendation would be to the one that asked the question is try to bring yourself something in form that you are not really feeling presently you can afford, yeah, and then prove it to yourself that you are the creator that you are. And in this way, you will lessen the charge or what it is that you're holding within you that prevents you from actually bringing the dollars in that you are wanting, you see.
Okay. Teresa, with the Guardians of Light, like to make an additional comment or answer that question?
We would like to add on top of what Athena has said, that yes, you need to be in energetic alignment with that which you wish to call into your reality. What is the energy of money? What is the energy of other things that you are trying to bring in to your current reality? That is difficult to ascertain. One that we know, even Teresa wonders about when she listens to Abraham speak, when she speaks of becoming in energetic alignment with that which you wish to observe with your five senses. In your human reality. We are going to say that it is important that you just raise your vibration, not concerned about what the vibration might be of that which you wish to manifest, and that to concentrate on feeling good, participating in those activities that you know raise your energy, that you find fun and enlivening. Energetically, it feels, physiologically, it feels feels good. It feels like sparkly within you. It's like those things that you feel like, wow, where did all this energy come from? That when you're participating in them, it's like you feel like you could just go on and on. We encourage you to focus on that, on just feeling really good. And that without focusing on that which you wish to manifest, it's more about just increasing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that beingness in the world automatically then begins to bring that which is of whatever vibration that might be at to begin to flow into your reality. And you may notice that even the things that you had wished for to have no longer have that same importance and significance of what they may have had before. That Teresa is noticing that the things that she may have wanted before to appear, to have, let's say, are no longer of importance, because now she's just so focused on the feelings of just having your energetic vibration and your frequency just being where it is, that you almost don't need to be doing anything, and you don't even need maybe the physical things that you thought you would have wanted in order to elicit that feeling. Like, let's say that, oh, you need an expensive car, like a sports car, or expensive designer clothing, because then you're going to be able to feel really good. But you recognize that as you just concentrate on fulfilling that feeling on your own through often very simple things, that the emphasis and the importance of having those other things are just, they're not even relevant. Mm-hmm. And so we would say to just focus more on just feeling really good and allowing you the time to participate in those activities that allow your vibration and frequency to increase.
I think that's a really good point, because every time I have put myself into a really happy state, things just appear out of the blue, and you're like, oh, how did I get this nice thing in my life? So that's very good information.
We would venture to tell you that most people that are thinking about money, they are not necessarily thinking about how much they love it. They're not necessarily happy about it. Many are constricted. They're worrying about it. They are feeling as though they cannot spend freely, feeling as though they cannot have or do what it is that they want to do. Make no mistake about it, money is a handy thing on the plane that you live on as far as providing experiences to you. We're not talking about really whether something is going to provide you with happiness or not, but you are an experiencer that has come to this place or plane, let's use that term, to actually enjoy what is here and what is available to you. And if it is your desire to do that, then money is certainly an aspect or something of energy that you are entitled to, or certainly welcome to, let's use that term. And so what we would really like to get humans to understand is that what the thing that's mostly preventing them from obtaining the resources or the energy that they are wanting so that they can enjoy other resources and other things that are available to them is the idea that it is somehow different than those resources. It's not. It's energy. And so you are an energetic being. Everything that you are participating in is being provided through energy. That's what it is. Yeah. And so once you can really take money off the pedestal and look at it more as a means of energy to provide you the opportunity to live the type of experiences that you're wanting to live while you are here, there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no false sense of happiness because you have money. If you have a desire and there's something that you want to satisfy with that desire, you certainly can do it as a human. There's no one standing at the gate shaking their fingers saying that you didn't need that in order to be happy. We're not saying necessarily that that's what's being said, but we want to make the point that money is energy, and energy provides opportunity to flow into other areas that you're wanting to flow it to, you see. And if you started to look at money a little bit more that way, instead of something that is separate or more difficult to obtain than anything else, you would find it a lot easier to satisfy yourself in that arena, you see.
Okay. So just an additional question that was brought up by listeners regarding this money podcast, and we'll start with the Guardians of Light. Does this also apply to all of the children that are starving in poor countries? What would you say about that and the lack of money or what's going on there?
Mm-hmm. It's important that the humans not judge the conditions in which the humans that live in different parts on this planet, mm-hmm. the experience that they are having there in that part. Like, we're going to assume that you're speaking of Africa, for example, where we know that there are cases of poverty, Central America, Latin America, South America, different parts, mm-hmm. and places on this planet where various resources are limited, that it is important that we not judge the experience that those souls are having in those areas, that it is difficult for humans to understand that on a soul level, there are various objectives that are trying to be fulfilled. And sometimes those conditions will fulfill those objectives. And although it might be hard for you to conceptually understand why would someone choose that? But the conditions in which those people are living in is providing the soul with very unique perspectives and situational happenings that facilitate the learning that that soul is desiring to have. And while we acknowledge that those conditions are very challenging, the soul is prepared through other lifetimes and other experiences to endure that which is going to be elicited through that experience. And that we must allow all of those that are part of the human collective to gain the knowledge and experience that their environment is going to facilitate.
I like that answer a lot. Athena, would you care to weigh in?
Well, what we would start by saying, Heidi, is that there is simply no one that's being victimized. And we feel a little bit the question is indicating that perhaps this is the case, that someone is somehow suffering in a way that they shouldn't be, you see. We certainly aren't supporting suffering. That's not what we're saying. But what we want to have humans understand is that every experience that is occurring is created by the one that is experiencing it. And that would include those that are living in those environments in the poverty that they are in, you see. And we know that that is a difficult concept for many to accept, but they are expansive beings. They've lived many lifetimes and they've emoted in various ways that have actually brought them to the place or point that they are in. And whether a human creates in joy or in suffering, there is great energy being released and received in all that is and expanded to the greater degree because of it. So large masses that are willing to suffer to the degree that these ones are actually creating opposite of what it is that they are going through. They are expanding the universe to the highest degree from what it is that they are experiencing in suffering that they are committing to it, you see. And so we really want to make that delineation that there are no victims. There is no one that is being unfairly or unjustly having something placed upon them that they have no control over, you see. Whether you know it or not, you're creating the next lifetime that you will be taking on or coming into based upon how you're emoting, how you're thinking, how you're feeling in the present moments that you are in. You have this vital now moment, this moment that you stand in to decide how you are going to feel, how you're going to interact in the relationships that you are in, and decide what it is that you want to experience in the next life that you will have. But you are the creator of it. You are the one that's picking and choosing and deciding. Nobody's dropping you into a lifetime where you're there to suffer beyond control, beyond something that you did not agree to. And by agree to, emote to, we would say, yeah. So this is the point that we would like to make, that there simply are no victims. There simply are no lives that are being lived that are not of the accord of the one that is living them. And that as you in a resistive state, we're not saying anyone in particular, but as anyone in a resistive state would push against and say, oh, that's a terrible thing. Why is that happening? And if you agree to that being that way, then it is a bad thing. Yeah, this is what is kind of being inferred by that question. But what we're trying to tell you, that when you move into opposition energy, you're just the creator of more opposition for yourself. You're actually not going to improve the poor or the ones that are suffering without any food by opposing the idea that they don't deserve to be in that situation that they've created, you see. So we don't mean to be harsh in our response, but we are in truth. We are never going to agree that there is ever a time when a human is in a situation, we don't care how small they are, how young they are, that they have not created that situation either unknowingly by the way that they have emoted. And eventually when they reach a point or place in the evolution of their soul, they will realize how they have done it by the reflections that they are getting back that they're not liking. And they'll make an adjustment in the way that they emanate and therefore get a different life because of it, you see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we've discussed this before, but the way I tend to look at things now is more, I mean, I don't have that information about my past lives or, what my soul's purpose is, but I certainly believe that there's a reason why I am where I am now. And so I try in situations to look at it as, there's pieces of the puzzle that we're not aware of. And if we only look from this one human point of view and we have that judgment of good or bad, and we don't have all of the pieces of the puzzle that put us into this position we're in now, it's not really
And you're only messing up your own vibration.
right.
Do it.
Right. And when it's like trying to answer a question when you only have 5% or 1% of the information, you have to know that there is perfection and things going on behind the scenes. And we just have to trust, I think, that this is why things are as they are. Teresa, would you have anything that your group would like to share with the listeners that would be important today? Is there anything that comes to mind?
We would like to highlight something that Athena said earlier about how, which ties into this last part of this discussion about how the human experience is very much about coming home to who you are, coming home to the truth, coming home to the knowledge of you being spiritual perfection, divinity in human form, and that this planet Earth provides the opportunity for you to experience that contrast. That as you will be, we found it interesting. Athena used the word being reabsorbed back into spirit form, energetic form. That was such an interesting way. I was looking at it, being reabsorbed back to that which we are energetically. That in that to live from that place here in the human experience, with the contrast, with the duality, with the hardship, with the challenges, and in those situations that are difficult to observe, to endure physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that. But how do you discover and how do you step into that mastery that she spoke about? That connection, being connected to that despite what is happening on the outside, that this planet offers much diversity in experiences because of environmental factors, because of the different ways that you divide one another with religion and skin color and politics, status, money, lots of different dividing factors that separate you all from each other.
Oh, you are asking us this question?
No, this is no, there's no question here. That so the planet provides a lot of that diversity in experiences that you can have. And all of that facilitates, if you allow it, the discovery of your truth and embracing the master of you being the master of your reality. And we want you to, although the contrast might be difficult, it is there to help facilitate that growth, that learning and expansion that happens not just individually, but for the whole human collective, and ultimately all of that which is. And so we invite you to embrace the contrast, because it is a unique experience that you had here on planet Earth. And while it may be difficult when you're in the muck of it all, it is, from our perspective, enjoyable, similar to when you watch things on TV, as we're observing that which happens here on planet Earth. But it is that mastery that Athena was talking about, mastering your experience, mastering your reality, and using the outside factors to assist. And
if we were to be allowed
mastery.
to comment on what it is you have said, yeah. One of the biggest things that would help a human in mastery is to understand sovereignty, and that this is how you are creating. How you feel, how you emanate is how you create. And so if a human would just give up the idea that they're going to influence anyone else's experience or change it or direct it or control it, they would have so much more ability to create in a direction that they want to go in, because a human gets caught up in the idea that in order to see change, in order to have the society be in a better standing, or let's use that term, they think that they have to deny someone else's experience. They have to tell them how to be and what to stop doing, quite honestly. And all the while, as they move into this energetic state of denying another's experience, inadvertently they deny their own. And so the power to create is greatly diminished as one moves out of sovereignty and moves to opposition and control of others. And this is part of the biggest problem that we can see in obtaining the world that you want to. Humans try to do it through enforcement and through opposition, rather than doing it as becoming the change that they would like to see in the world, you see.
Nicely said. I really loved both of the perspectives on the questions, because I thought you both complemented each other well. I thought that worked really good. Teresa, if our listeners would like to get in touch with you, do you want to tell them the services you offer and how to get a hold of you?
Yes, thank you so much.
Mhm.
So you can check out my website. It's teresagreco.ca. You can also check me out on social media. So on Instagram, it's Teresa Greco _ Steps to Happiness. Also on Facebook, Steps to Happiness with Teresa Greco. And on my website, I have a lot of information about myself, my services, my shows, the books, lots of different things.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. I really enjoyed it. And we'll look forward to maybe doing this again sometime.
Thank you.
Heidi. Real pleasure meeting you, Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Same
Thank
to
you.
you. Thank you.